What's up guys, thanks again for tuning in as always, and if it's your first time here, thank you for watching and we're glad you're here as well. Today we'll be discussing one of the most significant events in monetary history, which is the suspension of the gold standard by the US President Richard Nixon on August 15th, 1971. This announcement marked a turning point in monetary policy as it signaled the end of Bretton Woods and the birth of a new monetary era, the fiat currency system. Let's start by examining the implications of this decision. The Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944 established the US dollar as a reserve currency and allowed foreign governments to exchange their dollars for gold. The underlying principle of the system was that gold acted as the core of the stability of the financial system. However, the suspension of the gold standard meant that the US removed all precious metals, backing off the US dollar entirely, which in turn created something we had never seen before, an entirely fiat currency system. So you might be asking yourself, what is a fiat currency system? Fiat currency systems are those established by the government that utilize a currency that has no usable value. The coordinated events funded by secret societies, think tanks, and banksters led to the suspension of the gold standard. The new fake money printing system the feds wanted was pushed forward through a combination of very convincing deceptive factors, including rising inflation, a high unemployment rate, an increasing balance of payment issues resulting from debts from the Vietnam War, and monetary inflation. At the time, France and other countries heavily criticized the Bretton Woods system for being unfair, calling it, quote, America's exorbitant privilege, end quote. This system was viewed as unfair as by 1966, foreign central banks had 14 billion in US dollar currency reserves, while the US only had $13.2 billion in physical gold reserves, with just $10 billion backing domestic currency in circulation. Furthermore, the Federal Reserve kept cheating by creating currency that was not backed by gold, in order to supply the US government with more money for its wars and social spending. The US's reckless spending and violation of the Bretton Woods Agreement, along with foreign governments' insistence on redeeming their reserve dollars for gold, ultimately led to the decision by President Nixon to suspend the convertibility of the dollar into gold. It is worth noting, however, that the blame for the problem was shifted to foreign governments, effectively casting a veil of ignorance over the US citizens who were unaware of the system's structure. The suspension of the gold standard has had significant implications for the US economy, which we will consider next. So now that these corrupt bankers have trapped themselves into a fake money printing cycle, what do they plan on doing about it, and how does this affect the average citizen? The best way to solve an economic problem, especially one they themselves created, is to find a scapegoat so that they themselves are not held responsible for the problem they created. Less freedom, theft from the people, and increased power for the government and central banks always seem to be the quote, solution, end quote. Because the central banks desired an unrestricted ability to create as much currency as they wanted, whenever they wanted, to help their owners and shareholders, and not us, the average Joe 9-to-5er, the people. These entities did everything in their power to remove the United States from the Bretton Woods system, or what was left of it at the time. Never mind that the obvious result of creating new money is a net devaluation of the money already in use and a reduction in its purchasing power, or theft, which is the exact thing that a gold or a silver standard is supposed to prevent. The result of this choice should also be taken into account when evaluating its merits. The wealth gap has widened significantly, social problems have exploded, and the debt has continued to grow exponentially into absurd levels. Booms and busts are now the norm, inflation is now out of control, and the Federal Reserve is effectively powerless to change interest rates because they have trapped themselves in their own system. Furthermore, the US has continued to lose ground economically in real terms relative to other nations around the world. The Federal Reserve is relentlessly seeking more authority, even though it has proven to be a disappointment in every area, except one. It has been exceptionally beneficial for the global elite and their pursuits. These greedy bankers are extremely content with possessing their financial institution and enjoying their economic beast 666 system, even if the masses of regular Joes like you and I slave away for our entire lives for a sliver of some of their fake monopoly money. Mind you, we pay interest and taxes on this fake monopoly phony money. They deem this money has value simply because they type it into a computer and use fancy verbose language, so it sounds legitimate to the profane masses of people who care more about who's going to win the NFL Super Bowl and the next great Netflix show, or how to keep up with the Kardashians. Meanwhile, these power-hungry elites work around the clock non-stop in order to tighten their controlling hand, while we drown ourselves in their distraction and detraction devices.